Greetings, fellow book enthusiasts, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Moses Book Chat, where we dive into the world of literature. Thank you guys for joining me today. Sorry for my voice. It's the flu season, but I really felt like I could not be delaying this video any further. Literally, I felt the urge to tell you guys about this amazing book as soon as possible. So today we embark on a profound journey into the sun-soaked landscapes of Cuba toward the classic novella, The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. So without further ado, grab a cup of coffee. I'll be grabbing mine. A sip from this and a sip from that. I'm not a father, by the way, if you're concerned. And anyways, sit back, get cozy, and most importantly, focus and have fun. So before we actually start, I really want to give you guys a very fast intro about the book and the author. I promise it's not going to be long, but we can't really understand the story until we get some background to it. So in 1952, this classic novella, The Old Man and the Sea, was published by Ernest Hemingway, consisting of 127 pages and falling under the genre of literary fiction and adventure. Now, Ernest Hemingway was a very unique person. He wasn't just a normal novelist like many others. He was a very successful man that had great achievements. This book by itself got him both the Nobel Prize for Literature and the Pulitzer Award. But outside of his writing career, he still had a great social life. This man participated in World War I, the Spanish Civil War, and World War II. He would also do tons of other activities like bullfighting, hunting, and deep sea fishing. All of these, of course, affected his mentality and writing style. Hemingway wrote this book at the age of 52, and as he grew older, he could no longer do the same things he was able to do at a younger age. No longer the adventurous, masculine young man he used to be. He also developed an alcohol addiction, high blood pressure, liver cancer, and long-term depression. All of these obstacles, of course, with his great resilience and patience, shaped the writings of his works. So now I think we're ready to jump in and embark into our journey into the Cuban seas. Let's start. So jumping in our story, our tale unfolds in the sun-drenched waters of the Gulf Stream, where Santiago, an aging and unlucky Cuban fisherman, faces a staggering 84 days without catching a single fish. His apprentice, Marilyn, is reluctantly forced to fish on another boat due to Santiago's perceived streak of bad luck. Determined to break free from the spell, Santiago embarks on a daring journey in his small skiff, the sloop, into the Gulf Stream, hoping to catch the elusive fish that will change his fortune. As the plot thickens, Santiago engages in a relentless battle in the middle of the sea with a giant marlin. A struggle that lasts for days and tests the limits of his physical and mental endurance. Without spoiling too much, after putting lots of efforts and finally succeeding, outsider forces were able to destroy all of his work. Let's delve in deeper into how each of the characters contributes to the intricate layers of the plot and the overarching theme of resilience, which we're going to be talking about later. Character number 1 is Santiago. The old man, our resilient protagonist, is the driving force behind the plot. His physical description, marked by thinness, gauntness, and skin cancer blotches, serves as a testament to the toll of aging and a life spent battling the elements. Everything about him is old, except his eyes, cheerful and undefeated, symbolizing an indomitable spirit. All of the time, Santiago would have internal conflicts, to the point that he calls the marlin fish his brother one time, and one other time he says, describing it, it was a great fish, it was a worthy opponent. And another time he says, fish, I'll stay with you until I'm dead. And another time he says, I will kill you dead before this day ends. So Santiago really shows great instability. Despite all of these difficulties, he was still very resilient, saying, but man is not made for defeat. A man can be destroyed, but not defeated. Explaining how no matter what physical disadvantages or psychological issues come in his path aiming to destroy him, nothing could defeat the resilience preserved in his heart. I think you should be able to visualize the clear correlation between the protagonist Santiago and the writer Hemingway himself. And then starting off with character number 2, we have Marilyn, who's pretty much like Robin to Batman. He is Santiago's loyal apprentice. From a deep analytical perspective, we could say that Marilyn simply embodied Santiago's sense of hope. Even if Marilyn isn't really helping Santiago much from a tangible sense, is Santiago's flame of hope, always lighting him whenever he feels down. And then we have character number 3, the Marlin. Now, the marlin, beyond being a mere fish, serves as a symbolic adversary in Santiago's personal journey. The struggle between Santiago and the marlin exceeds a mere physical confrontation. It becomes a profound internal conflict, a battle of resilience, heroism, love, and an unwavering refusal to concede. Now, the next character is unfortunately a spoiler alert, as it only appears at the ending of the story. So, if you don't want to hear the spoiler, you can simply just skip forward a minute and 15 seconds, and we'll meet you there. So now, if you decided to listen to this, the sharks are the fourth character in the story. They serve as destructive external forces, significantly contributing to both the plot's climax and the thematic development. Because I attempted not to mention anything about the sharks in the plot, I'm going to mention it all now. After Santiago caught the marlinfish, a group of sharks attacked and started devouring the marlinfish bit by bit. Santiago eventually was able to defeat the sharks, but after the entire marlinfish was completely devoured, leaving only the skeleton for him to take to shore. Despite all of this, Santiago still manages to show a feeling of contentment, despite not going back with anything tangible. Now, from analyzing this, the sharks represent the ruthless challenges faced by Santiago after his triumphant catch. The detailed descriptions of the sharks consuming the marlin's flesh give a striking image of Santiago's physical and emotional suffering during this time. Their presence intensifies the theme of resilience, as Santiago fights valiantly to preserve the remains of his hard-earned prize, showcasing the unwavering determination against external threats. Alright, so now we're going to be talking about the main theme of the story. So collectively, all of these characters weave a narrative tapestry that encapsulates the theme of resilience in the story. We've already explained character by character how they all contributed to the theme. Santiago representing a man in life, Madeline representing the hope that pushes the man to stay resilient, the marlinfish as the main obstacles in life that one wants to tackle, including his own internal conflicts, being the primary reason why one even needs to have resilience. These issues in life. And the last character mentioned in the spoiler represents the external forces and threats coming in the way of one's success, being a secondary reasons for why one needs to have resilience. And now we're going to be talking about the main conflict in the story. And what many might think is that the main conflict evident in our story would be character versus nature, or perhaps character versus character. But actually, the main type of conflict in the story isn't any of these. And you might be able to guess it by now. It's the character versus self. As we've already mentioned many times, the inner conflicts that Santiago is going through. And I want you, whenever you look at the marlin conflict, don't think of it as a mere battle of strength. Think of it as a battle of thoughts in the head of Santiago. This will be more clear when we start talking about the psychoanalytical perspective of looking at the story, which is next. Now, looking at the story from a psychoanalytical lens, I know that really looks like a big word, but I'm going to understand right now. Santiago's internal conflicts are not just individual struggles. They represent universal facets of the human psyche. Now, let me introduce you to a very famous psychological theory that could be used or understood throughout the story. According to a psychologist by the name of Sigmund Freud, the mind, overseeing conscious and unconscious decisions, operates according to psychological factors that drive it into taking a decision and shapes our personality.
So he said these factors could be classified into three categories: the id, the ego, and the superego. So in simple terms, the id is the I want part of your mind. It's impulsive, seeking immediate satisfaction for basic desires. It's the pleasure principle. It could sometimes be illogical. All what it aims for is fulfilling your desires. The ego is the I balance part. It considers reality and tries to meet the desires of the id in a way that fits the world. The superego is the I shouldn't part of your mind. It's your moral compass, representing societal norms and values, guiding you to taking ethical decisions. So right now, my id is telling me to take this juice box and drink it while talking. Just like that. But my ego, my super ego, is telling me that this is not acceptable to do while presenting a book to you guys. And this is disrespectful to you guys. So, what my ego tells me is that instead of drinking while I'm talking to you guys, what I could do is that I could drink in the breaks in between, instead of not fulfilling my desires and not fulfilling and not respecting you guys to the extent that you deserve.
It looked complicated in the beginning, but actually, like, realistically, when thinking about it, it is very realistic, and it happens all around us in our lives. And what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be relating it to the story that we're discussing today. So in Santiago's it is demonstrated in his impulsive urge to kill the fish immediately and violently, to break his unlucky streak and restore his ego and status amongst the people. So that's his it. And for Santiago's super ego, it emerges when he calls the fish his brother and says to the fish, "I love you and I respect you," and all these things, as his morals attempt to stop him from committing any obscene crime. And then his third thing, his ego, comes to balance everything and is at play as he grapples with the reality of fishing, the necessity to kill for survival despite emotional conflicts. And also, quite interestingly, Santiago's super ego also emerges in a very unique way as he turns back to religion, showcasing his internalized moral compass during challenging times, even if he initially distanced himself from religion, as he explicitly said, demonstrating how worshipping God is the natural instinct that all humans were created with, or as we call it in Islam, the fitrah. So in conclusion, examining Santiago's internal conflicts through a psychoanalytical lens unveils the universal facets of the human psyche embedded in the Old Man and the Sea. Sigmund Freud's id, super ego, and ego framework provides a profound understanding of Santiago's impulses, the delicate balance between desire and reality, and the moral compass guiding his decisions. As I'm preparing this video, is the 21st of January, also being the World Religion Day. Not that I'm celebrating or anything, it's a Baha'i festival, but this just brings to my attention, like, Mu'adh, why not make a bit of like an Islamic connection on this occasion with your Sheikh Beard? So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. Santiago throughout the novel has shown a unique level of contentment with whatever was given to him. He put in so much effort, and at the end, what was the result? Not that much. Was he still mad about it? Not really. This reminds me a lot of the concept of contentment or rida in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Be pleased with what Allah has decreed upon you, and you shall be the richest of people." You can still live happily while being poor, while being very old, while everybody avoids dealing with you, while you're having mental problems, while having health problems, to the point that Ibrahim ibn Adham, one of the greatest tabi'een, the followers of the companions, said, "If kings and princes know the happiness that we have in our hearts, they will fight us with swords for it." And we can just go and have a look at our own scholars. Many of them were blind, like Imam al-Dhahabi, and all prophets worked as shepherds. So it's really not possible for anybody with tons of difficulties, whether job difficulties or physical or mental or any sort of difficulties, to still live with contentment and happiness, just as Santiago was able to live his life. So coming up next on the list is the text versus stuff. So Santiago, although putting extreme effort in his journey for the Marlin, was still very satisfied about going back home with pretty much nothing. This exemplifies the significance of exerting the effort, yet the outcome is nowhere as important. Similarly, when we put efforts in our assignments and we do not get the outcome we expected, like we put hours working on graphic organizers and then hours on preparing scripts, and then we don't get the mark that we expect, then we thank God subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then we hope for the better next time. So last thing remaining is the connection part, is the text versus will. It's pretty interesting. So Santiago throughout the story has constantly been made to feel lonely and isolated. Although he was indeed kind and compassionate, he was still aging and seemingly unlucky, hence nobody really cared about him. When he got lost in the sea, he felt lonesome, surrounded by nothingness other than strange beings that live underneath. He thought that he could live in peace with these beings out of his innocence, but then he realized that with the laws of the universe, they necessitate that this is not possible. Supernatural forces attack him from everywhere. Yet with all of these difficulties piling up upon his head, he still found resilience to solution. Santiago went back home with pretty much nothing, yet he was still very grateful for that. Similarly, our brothers and sisters in Gaza feel absolutely lonely in this war. They get called terrorists and bombers, yet in reality it is nothing but a lie. They search for help around them, find their neighboring countries, supposedly their brothers, the most in their opposition. All of the world's forces unite against these people. These very few people actually, but they possess something that no one could ever destroy. They have patience that grows and becomes resilience. Now, as we stand at the crossroads of Santiago's epic journey, let me offer you a sincere recommendation. The Old Man and the Sea isn't merely a book. It's an odyssey into the depths of the human spirit. If you're a reader who craves literature that delves into the complexities of the human experience, if you appreciate narratives with symbolic depth and themes of resilience and endurance, then this novella is a must-read. So I'll give you some advice that is really earnest. Read Ernest Hemingway's book. This is sincerely deep from the bottom of my heart. I've never lied to you guys, never will. This is not any sort of paid promotion. The Old Man and the Sea is not just a book. It's an experience, a tale that transcends time and invites you to ponder the resilience that resides within all of us. Thank you guys all for joining me. Before we're done, big shout out to my guy, my twin bro, Dabbar al-Mu'adh. He makes great Islamic videos if you ever want to check it. He looks exactly like me, you know, we know each other pretty well. If you ever want to give his videos a go, then go ahead. But that's all. See you guys next time.